Okay, so let's dive into all this info you sent over
Sounds good.
about Medicaid planning,
All right.
especially about these things called Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts, MAPTs for short.
Yep.
It seems like you're trying to figure out how to protect your assets,
Okay.
maybe even your home,
Yeah.
in case you ever need long-term care.
Makes sense.
It's smart thinking
Oh, yeah.
because nobody wants to see their life savings disappear
Right.
if they need to go to a nursing home.
Exactly.
Nursing homes are expensive.
They are.
You're absolutely right.
It's a big concern for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And honestly, this whole Medicaid world,
Yeah.
it can feel like a jungle out there.
Yeah, it can.
But we're here to help you hack your way through it.
I love that jungle analogy.
Thanks.
So, first things first,
Okay.
can you just break down exactly what a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is?
Sure.
I know it has something to do with Medicaid's asset limit.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain that in plain English for us?
Yeah. So basically, to qualify for Medicaid, especially for long-term care, like a nursing home, there's a limit on how much you can own.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And in most states, it's surprisingly low,
Right.
often around $2,000 for an individual.
Wow.
Now, some things are usually exempt,
Okay.
like your primary home,
Right.
a car, and some personal belongings.
Okay.
But if you have savings or investments or other valuable assets
Yeah.
above that limit,
Yeah.
you might not be eligible for Medicaid.
Oh, wow.
It's like trying to squeeze into a pair of jeans that are way too small.
Ouch.
It's not going to work.
Yeah, that sounds painful.
It can be.
So that's where MAPT comes in.
Exactly.
Like a way to loosen those jeans up a little bit.
Exactly.
It's like that.
So a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is basically a legal tool
Okay.
that lets you protect your assets so they don't count toward that Medicaid limit.
So it's like creating a separate little island for your belongings,
You got it.
safe from the Medicaid waves.
I like that.
I'm getting a lot of good visuals here.
Good.
So how does it actually work?
So imagine this.
Okay.
You're holding a treasure chest,
Okay.
and you want to make sure it reaches your loved ones safely.
Okay.
So you entrust it to a reliable friend to guard it.
Okay.
That's essentially what you do with a MAPT.
Got it.
There are three key players:
Okay.
the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary.
So the grantor is the person who owns the treasure chest.
That's right.
Okay.
The grantor's the one setting up the trust, the one who owns the assets they want to protect.
Right.
Then you have the trustee.
Okay.
That's your reliable friend
Got it.
who manages the assets held in the trust according to your wishes.
Makes sense.
And then finally, the beneficiary,
Yeah.
who will eventually receive the treasure.
Got it.
So the trustee is like the caretaker, making sure everything's on track.
Yeah.
And eventually it goes to the beneficiary.
Right.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. For this plan to work, the trust has to be irrevocable.
Irrevocable.
Meaning once you set it up
Right.
and transfer the assets,
Yeah.
you can't just change your mind
Oh.
or take them back.
So no takebacks.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like sending that treasure chest off on a ship. Once it sets sail, there's no turning back.
So let's talk about the benefits.
Sure.
Besides the obvious peace of mind.
Yeah.
How does setting up an MAPT actually help someone?
Well, the biggest advantage is that it lets you meet Medicaid's asset limit
Okay.
without having to drain your savings.
Right.
Let's say you need long-term care,
Yeah.
but your assets are above that magic number Medicaid allows. With MAPT, those assets are tucked away on your little island,
Right.
making you eligible for Medicaid
Right.
to cover the costs.
And remember those nursing home figures we talked about?
Yeah,
MAPT could help you avoid paying those costs out of pocket.
exactly.
To give you an idea.
Okay.
The average cost of a nursing home nationwide is $7,900 a month.
Wow,
That's like a year of college tuition
yeah.
every single year.
It can be financially devastating.
Yeah.
There's also another benefit to consider,
Okay.
protection from something called Medicaid Estate Recovery.
Medicaid Estate Recovery.
Yeah.
That sounds ominous.
It can be.
Okay.
Imagine this.
Okay.
After you're gone, the state sends your loved ones a bill
Oh, no.
for the care that you received through Medicaid.
Wow, really?
It happens more often than you think.
That's not what you want to leave behind.
Right.
No.
But here's the good news.
Okay.
If your assets are tucked away in a MAPT,
Yeah.
they're generally protected from this.
Okay.
Because they're not technically part of your estate anymore.
Oh, okay.
So more of your hard-earned money goes to the people you care about most.
That's a good thing.
It is.
Okay. Starting to see why folks are so interested in these MAPTs.
Yeah.
It's like that extra layer of security for your future.
Yeah, it is.
But you know what they say?
What's that?
Something sounds too good to be true.
Right.
Are there any downsides?
Of course.
Or what?
Catches. Like with any financial strategy, there are trade-offs.
Yeah.
The biggest catch with a MAPT is timing.
Timing.
You need to set it up well in advance of needing Medicaid.
Okay, let's say it's...
We're talking years, not months.
Years?
Yeah.
Why so far ahead?
Because Medicaid plays detective.
Oh, really?
With something called the look-back period.
The look-back period.
Uh-huh.
What is that?
They look back at your financial moves.
Okay.
For about 5 years before you apply for Medicaid.
So they want to make sure you're not just trying to hide your assets.
Exactly.
Right before you need care.
Right.
Smart.
And if they find any sneaky transfers,
Like what?
like moving assets into an MAPT too close to applying, they can penalize you.
Oh, really?
With a period of ineligibility.
Oh, wow.
Imagine you transfer your assets into a MAPT just a year before needing nursing home care.
Okay.
Medicaid could delay your coverage.
Oh, no.
Potentially wiping out your savings.
Oh, wow. Before you even qualify.
That makes sense.
So timing is crucial.
Yeah.
You set it up too late and it could backfire.
What other downsides are there?
Well, remember that treasure chest analogy?
Yeah.
Once you've entrusted it to your friend,
yeah,
it's truly out of your hands.
Oh.
You can't just dip into the trust whenever you want.
So it's a trade-off.
Right.
Protection and potential Medicaid eligibility, but less control.
Exactly.
That's a big decision.
It is.
And let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Setting up a trust isn't free.
That's true.
How much does it cost?
Well, attorneys who specialize in this can charge anywhere from $2,000 to $12,000.
Wow.
Depending on how complex your situation is.
Right.
And where you live.
So even with the potential savings down the line,
yeah,
there's a significant cost up front.
There is.
Something to think about.
It is all about weighing those costs and benefits.
Right.
But sometimes spending money now can actually save you a bundle in the long run.
Well, if a MAPT helps you qualify for Medicaid and avoid paying for that expensive long-term care out of pocket, those upfront costs could look like peanuts compared to what you might have spent.
A few thousand now versus potentially hundreds of thousands later.
Exactly.
But what if someone needs Medicaid relatively soon?
Okay.
Maybe they don't have that 5-year window to set up a MAPT.
Right.
Are they out of luck?
Not necessarily.
Oh, good.
There are other strategies you can explore.
Okay.
Think of it like finding a detour when there's a roadblock.
Oh, I like a good detour.
Me too.
Tell me more about these alternate routes.
Well, one option is spending down assets.
Spending down assets.
Basically, you use your assets to pay for things you need.
Okay.
Until you're under that Medicaid limit.
Right.
It's not the most ideal scenario.
Yeah.
But it is a possibility.
Okay.
And then there are things like irrevocable funeral trusts, which can protect a certain amount of money, specifically for final expenses.
So even if someone doesn't have years to plan,
right,
there might be other paths to take.
Exactly.
Now, we've been talking about all these rules and regulations, but I have to ask, are they the same everywhere?
That's a great question.
Does it matter what state you live in?
Yes. Just like fashion trends, Medicaid rules can vary from state to state.
Interesting.
For example, in Michigan, your house is still considered a countable asset.
Really?
Even if it's in an MAPT.
Wow.
But in California, things are much more relaxed.
Oh, okay.
You might even be able to use a revocable trust.
Oh, wow.
In some cases.
So it's not enough to just understand the basics of MAPTs.
Right.
You need to know the specifics for your state.
Exactly.
That's a big difference.
It is like trying to navigate a new city without a map.
Right.
You need someone who knows the local rules.
Yeah.
And shortcuts.
That's why working with an experienced elder law attorney who knows the ins and outs of your state's Medicaid rules.
Absolutely. Is essential. It's essential.
So it's like having a personal guide through this Medicaid maze?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so now that we've covered the basics, should we take a closer look at what's involved in actually setting up a MAPT?
Sounds good.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's say someone's listening to this and they're thinking, okay, a MAPT might be the right move for me.
Okay.
What are the first steps?
Well, the first step is definitely talking to an experienced elder law attorney.
Okay, so finding the right lawyer.
Yes, absolutely.
Is step one.
Step one for sure.
What comes next?
Next, you'll need to take a good look at your assets.
Okay.
And decide which ones you want to put into the MAPT.
So what kinds of things usually go in there?
Well, we talked about a primary residence. But remember those state-specific rules we mentioned? Your attorney will help you figure that out. Other things could be like savings accounts, investment accounts, stocks bonds, even real estate beyond your primary home.
Okay.
Basically anything you want to protect that you wouldn't need to access for at least 5 years.
5 years being that key look-back period.
Exactly. We don't want Medicaid raising any eyebrows.
So just a quick note.
Sure.
About retirement accounts?
Yeah.
Like 401ks and IRAs?
Yeah, those are often treated differently.
Okay.
And transferring them into a MAPT could have some tax implications.
Got it.
So it's best to discuss those specifically with your attorney.
Good to know. So you've figured out which assets to include.
Okay.
You've got your legal eagle by your side.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, there is some legal legwork involved.
Okay.
But your attorney will handle the heavy lifting.
So there's paperwork.
There is some paperwork.
Okay.
We'll work together to create the trust document.
Okay.
That outlines all the important details.
So who the trustee is, who the beneficiaries are, how the assets can be managed.
Right.
What happens to them down the line.
It's like the blueprint for your MAPT.
That sounds like a pretty important document.
It is. It's the foundation of the whole MAPT.
Yeah.
It needs to be clear, comprehensive, and rock solid, legally speaking.
Yeah, definitely not a DIY project.
Definitely not.
So you create this document.
Yep.
Sign on the dotted line, and that's it.
Almost.
Okay.
You'll sign the document, have it notarized.
Okay.
Then comes the exciting part.
Okay.
Funding the trust.
Oh, okay.
This is where you actually transfer ownership of your assets into the MAPT.
So you're literally moving those assets
Yes.
out of your name.
Out of your name.
Into the name of the trust.
Exactly.
Okay.
This might involve changing account titles.
Okay.
Updating property deeds, that kind of thing. Again, your attorney will walk you through all the specifics.
Got it.
And once that's done,
yeah,
your MAPT is officially up and running.
Wow.
It's a process.
It is.
But having that attorney really helps.
It seems like it makes all the difference.
It does.
What about managing the trust?
Okay.
Once it's all set up. Who's in charge of that?
That's where the trustee comes in.
Okay.
Remember, this is the person you chose to be the guardian of your assets.
Right.
Our reliable friend from earlier, they have a big responsibility to act in the best interests of the beneficiaries.
Okay.
Always following the rules that you set up in that trust document.
So it's not like they can just do whatever they want.
Right.
They have to follow the plan.
Exactly. They're like a captain steering the ship.
Okay.
Making sure it stays on course.
Got it.
They might be responsible for investing the assets wisely.
Nope.
Paying taxes. Taking care of any property.
Okay.
Or even distributing funds to the beneficiaries.
Okay.
If that's allowed under the rules.
So all this is happening with the goal of protecting those assets.
Yes.
For the future. And potentially helping the grantor qualify for Medicaid.
Right.
If and when they need it.
That's the big picture.
Okay.
It's about creating a safety net for yourself while preserving your financial legacy for your loved ones.
This is making a lot more sense now.
God.
It's not just about hiding money.
No, it's not.
It's about being proactive and having a plan.
It is.
Speaking of planning ahead.
Yeah.
Remember how we mentioned that Medicaid rules can change?
Yes, they can.
It's not a set it and forget it situation.
Right.
What happens if those rules change?
Okay.
After you've already set up your trust?
Good question.
Does the whole thing become useless?
Not at all.
Oh, good.
A well-drafted trust document
Yeah.
will often include provisions that allow for some flexibility in case those legal winds shift.
So there's a bit of built-in adaptability.
That's a great way to put it.
Like a chameleon?
Yeah.
That can change colors to blend in?
Exactly. This is another reason why having a good attorney is so important.
Right.
They can kind of anticipate some of those changes and draft a document that can weather the storm.
So it's like having a good raincoat.
Exactly.
For those unexpected downpours.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Speaking of rain.
Okay.
Are there any situations where a MAPT might not be the best fit?
Yes, there are.
We've talked about how it's not a magic wand.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
There are definitely times when it might not be the best option.
Like what?
For example, if someone needs Medicaid right away.
Okay.
Or in the very near future.
Yeah.
A MAPT won't be much help.
Right.
Because of that look-back period we talked about.
Right.
Medicaid is looking for any last-minute transfers.
Yeah.
A MAPT set up too close to needing pair could raise a red flag.
So it's more of a long-term strategy.
Yes, it is.
Like planting a seed.
Exactly.
That will grow into a strong tree.
That's a great way to look at it.
Over time.
Yeah.
If you think you might need Medicaid for long-term care in the next 5 years or so,
Yeah,
there are likely better options.
probably.
We talked about some alternatives earlier, like spending down assets or setting up an irrevocable funeral trust.
Exactly.
And we also can't forget that setting up a MAPT costs money.
Right.
We talked about those attorney fees.
Yeah.
So it might not be the best choice for
Right.
someone who doesn't have a lot of assets to
Yeah.
protect.
If your assets are below a certain level,
Yeah.
the cost of setting up a MAPT might not be worth it.
Right.
It's all about looking at your individual circumstances
Yeah.
and weighing those pros and cons.
And of course, those pesky state-specific rules
Yes,
come into play again.
I do.
In some states.
Yeah,
A MAPT might not offer as much protection as it would in others.
that's right.
Like we mentioned with Michigan, where a home in a MAPT could still be counted as an asset.
That's right.
That's why working with a knowledgeable elder law attorney is so important.
It's extremely important.
Yeah, they can take a look at your specific situation,
Absolutely.
your assets,
Yeah.
your health,
Uh-huh.
your long-term care goals,
Right.
and help you create a plan
Exactly.
that makes sense for you.
It's about making informed decisions that align with your needs.
So it's not just about filling out some forms.
Nope.
It's about making informed decisions
It is.
that align with your individual needs.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your future.
Right.
Now, have we covered enough about when a MAPT might not be the best option?
Yeah.
Or is there anything else we should add?
I think we've painted a pretty clear picture
Good.
of when a MAPT might not be the right fit.
Okay.
It's all about timing costs, individual circumstances,
Yes.
and those ever-changing state rules.
Absolutely.
I think we've painted a pretty clear picture of when an MAPT might not be the best fit. It's all about timing and costs and circumstances and those ever-changing state rules. But I have a feeling some folks listening might be thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but I'm still not sure if a MAPT is right for me.
Right.
What advice would you give them?
Well, I always tell people that the best way to figure this out is to talk to an experienced elder law attorney.
Okay.
They can look at your specific situation, your assets, your health, your family dynamics, your long-term care goals.
So it's like a personalized roadmap.
Yeah, like a financial checkup.
Yeah.
But with a focus on protecting your future?
They can help you weigh the pros and cons of a MAPT. Explore those alternative strategies we talked about.
Exactly.
Make sure you're making informed choices.
Yes.
That align with your values.
And your priorities.
Knowledge is power.
It really is.
The more you understand, the better equipped you are.
Exactly.
To make those decisions.
And sometimes even just having that initial conversation with an attorney. Yeah.
Can bring peace of mind.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you decide a MAPT isn't right for you.
Yeah.
At least you've explored the options.
Okay, so let's recap.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways you want our listeners to walk away with?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Medicaid and long-term care planning, they're not just for the elderly.
Right.
Or people in immediate need.
It's something we should all be thinking about.
We should all be having these conversations.
No matter how old we are or what our health is.
It's about protecting ourselves and our loved ones.
From potential burdens down the road.
Exactly.
Right. And an MAPT can be a valuable tool.
It can.
It's not a magic solution, but it can provide peace of mind.
Right.
Knowing you've taken steps to safeguard your assets and ensure access to quality care.
And remember, even if a MAPT isn't right for you, there are other strategies.
Right.
It's all about finding what works best.
For your situation.
For your unique situation.
The important thing is to be proactive. Do your research. Yes.
And seek expert advice.
When you need it.
This has been an incredibly informative deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
Hopefully our listener feels the same way.
I hope so.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
From defining MAPTs to understanding how they work, exploring benefits and downsides, looking at alternatives, and emphasizing the importance of advice.
It's been a pleasure.
It has.
Diving into this with you.
Hopefully we've given our listeners a good foundation.
Right, and maybe sparked some more questions.
Yeah.
Learning is a lifelong journey.
It is.
And when it comes to financial planning, the more informed you are, the better.
Well said.
Thanks.
And remember, even if a MAPT isn't the answer, there are other options to explore.
Right.
The important thing is to start planning.
Yes.
For your future, and the sooner the better.
Couldn't agree more.
It's been great chatting with you.
It's been great being here.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Happy planning, everyone.